All right, so today we are diving into the world of AI chips. It's a pretty complex landscape, but we're going to break it down for you. We've got a ton of articles here about the companies, the countries, basically everyone who wants to dominate this really important technology.
And it is important, yeah. I mean, we're talking about the chips that power everything from, your smartphone to self-driving cars. Even national security relies on this technology now.
It's true. And the crazy thing is, this market is only going to get bigger, like way bigger. Precedence Research, they're predicting it could be worth, get this, $227 billion by 2032. It's mind-boggling. So to kind of kick things off, we have to talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room, NVIDIA.
Yeah, NVIDIA. They're basically the kings of AI chips right now.
Yeah.
According to New Street Research, they control something like 90% of the market.
Yeah. 90%? That's insane. It's like almost a monopoly.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
And everyone wants a piece of that pie, especially with this whole explosion of generative AI, ChatGPT, all that.
Right. Because you need some serious processing power to run those things.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about tens of thousands of NVIDIA's top-tier GPUs just to train one of these large language models.
No wonder they're raking in the cash. I think I read somewhere that Google alone might spend like $100 billion on NVIDIA hardware.
Yeah, I've seen that figure thrown around too. But here's the thing. Google, they're not just going to sit back and let NVIDIA run away with it.
So they're fighting back.
Oh, yeah. They've been developing their own AI chips for a while now. They call them tensor processing units, or TPUs.
TPUs. So how do they stack up against NVIDIA's chips?
They're actually pretty impressive. Google's latest TPU, the V4, in some benchmarks, it's actually beating NVIDIA's A100, both in speed and energy efficiency, which is huge.
Okay, so it's not just about being faster. It's about being smarter with energy consumption, too.
Exactly. Because these AI models, they use an insane amount of power.
Makes sense. So Google's stepping up to the plate, but they're not the only ones, right? Didn't Microsoft also partner with AMD?
They did, yeah. And that's a big deal because Microsoft, they're one of NVIDIA's biggest customers.
Oh, wow. So it's like a double whammy. Google's building their own chips, and now Microsoft might be jumping ship, too.
It's definitely a sign of things to come. The AI chip world is becoming very, very competitive.
It sounds like it. So we've talked about NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft, AMD. It seems like everyone wants a piece of this AI chip pie. But I'm curious, what about these specialized chips I keep hearing about? Is it just about making chips faster and more powerful? Or is there something else going on?
That's a great question. And it's actually at the heart of what's driving this whole industry forward. It's not just about speed anymore. It's about building chips that are specifically designed for AI workloads.
So it's like, instead of having a general-purpose computer chip, you're building a chip that's specifically designed to run, say, facial recognition software or natural language processing.
Exactly. And that's what these specialized chips are all about. They're optimized for specific AI tasks, which makes them much faster and more efficient than traditional chips.
So how big of a deal is this? Are specialized chips really the future of AI?
All signs point to yes. Right now, only a tiny fraction of data centers use specialized AI chips. But Gartner predicts that by 2026, over 15% of data centers will be using them.
Wow, that's a huge jump.
It is. And it shows just how quickly this technology is evolving.
So this isn't just some niche thing. This is a fundamental shift in how we power AI.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's going to have a major impact on every industry imaginable.
So where do we go from here? We've got these established giants like NVIDIA, but we've also got these new specialized chip companies popping up left and right.
And that's where things get really interesting, because these startups, they're not afraid to challenge the status quo. They're the ones who are going to push the boundaries of what's possible with AI chips.
This is going to be fascinating to watch, but we'll
Oh.
save that for our next deep dive. It seems like everyone's jumping into the AI chip game these days.
Yeah, it's a total gold rush. And speaking of jumping in, we should probably talk about Taiwan.
Oh, right, Taiwan. I was kind of surprised by how much they kept coming up in the articles. Like, I knew they were a tech hub, but I didn't realize they were such a big deal in AI chips, too.
Oh, they're huge. I mean, there's this one company in Taiwan, TSMC. They make over 90% of the world's high-performance AI chips.
90%. Seriously. So, like, almost every AI-powered thing I use, it all depends on this one company in Taiwan.
Pretty much, yeah. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. Like, they're the foundation of this whole AI revolution.
Wow. That's a lot of responsibility on one company.
It is. And it's why Taiwan is such a geopolitical hotspot. I mean, Chris Miller, in his book Chip War, he basically argues that TSMC is the most important company in the world right now.
The most important company in the world.
That's what he says. Because If something happened to TSMC, like if they couldn't make chips anymore, it would be catastrophic for the global economy.
Oh, wow. I see what you mean. Okay, so TSMC is obviously doing something right. What's their secret sauce?
Well, for one thing, they've been laser focused on chip manufacturing for decades. Like that's all they do. And they've gotten really, really good at it.
Makes sense. So they're kind of like the masters of their craft.
Exactly. And they have these incredibly close relationships with their suppliers,
Yeah.
like ASML, this Dutch company that makes the machines used to manufacture these chips.
Yeah.
Those machines are like the most sophisticated pieces of technology ever built.
Wow. It sounds incredibly complex.
Oh, it is. It's like rocket science on a microscopic level.
So, with all this talk about TSMC and Taiwan
Yeah.
and the geopolitical risks, are they doing anything to try and, diversify so they're not putting all their eggs in one basket?
Yeah, they're definitely aware of the risks. And they have started building factories in other countries. Like they're building a big one in Arizona right now.
Oh, interesting. So they're trying to hedge their bets a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows what the future holds. And speaking of new players, we can't forget about India.
Oh, right, India. They're trying to become a big player in the chip industry too, right?
They are. They've announced this huge incentive program, like billions of dollars, to try and attract chip manufacturers to India.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
It is, and it's attracted some big names, like Foxconn, the company that makes iPhones. They're building a factory in India.
So, do you think India could actually become a major force in AI chips?
It's hard to say. They've got a lot of catching up to do, but they're definitely serious about it, and they've got a lot of potential.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. So we've got Taiwan, this tiny island that's basically holding the world's AI industry together. We've got India, this emerging giant that's trying to get in on the action.
You'll forget the VC money pouring into all these AI chip startups.
Oh, yeah, the startups. They're a whole other layer to this whole thing, aren't they? It seems like every other day there's another article about some AI chip startup raising $1 gazillion.
Yeah, the venture capitalists are going all in on this.
But what are they actually betting on? I mean, are these startups really going to challenge the big players like NVIDIA and Google?
Well, it's not just about challenging the existing players. It's about challenging the existing paradigms.
Paradigms. Okay, now you're just using big words.
All right, fair enough. What I mean is some of these startups are asking fundamental questions about how we build AI systems. Like, can we really rely on the same old data center infrastructure? Or do we need a completely new approach?
Because the current systems can't handle it.
Some experts think so. We're talking about AI models with trillions of parameters. That's a level of complexity we've never seen before.
Okay, so the startups are kind of like the rebels then. They're the ones willing to break the rules and try new things.
Exactly. They're the pioneers, the wild cards,
Yeah.
and that's what makes them so excited to watch.
So it's not just about who has the fastest chip anymore. It's about who has the most innovative approach.
Precisely. It's about who can build the most efficient, the most scalable, the most future-proof AI platform.
This reminds me of the early days of the internet. Like, back then, nobody knew which companies or technologies were going to win.
That's a good analogy. We're at a similar inflection point with AI right now. Anything could happen.
So where does that leave us? I mean, we've got established giants, ambitious newcomers, rebellious startups. It's a lot to keep track of.
It is a complex landscape. But here's the bottom line. The AI chip wars are just getting started, and the stakes are incredibly high.
Because ultimately, this is about who controls the future of AI, which, let's be honest, is probably going to shape the future of, well, everything.
Exactly. The decisions made the next few years about AI chips will have ripple effects for decades to come.
So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by all of this, don't worry. You're not alone.
The important thing is to just be aware of what's happening, to understand the forces at play, and to keep an open mind about the possibilities.
Because the future of AI is still being written, and it's going to be a wild ride.
That's for sure.
Well, on that note, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored the companies, the countries, the technologies, the geopolitical risks. It's a lot to digest.
It is, but it's fascinating stuff.
Absolutely. And we've just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore in the world of AI chips.
Oh, yeah. We could talk about this for hours.
Maybe another time. But for now, we'll leave you with this thought. Pay attention to the AI chip wars, because they matter. They matter a lot.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.